Hi, it's Penny here, and last year I was really unhappy with the consistency of my book ratings. I found that sometimes when I give a 3, it means a book is good, and sometimes it means that it's bad. Also, I'm never really clear, when do I, tip over into giving a 5-star? Even sometimes a 4 is something I didn't enjoy that much, but sometimes a 4 is like something absolutely amazing. And then, when I look back on my ratings, because I'm so inconsistent, it doesn't give me an indication of whether I actually liked that book. And when I'm trying to pick out what were my favorite books or my least favorite books, who really knows? Because something I gave a 3 one day might actually be better than something I gave a 4-star another day, depending on my mood. Now, I do use a system similar to G from Book First CorePile system. So in CorePile, she has, 7 categories, and each one gets a rating out of 10, and then those gets averaged up to be the final star rating. I have my own 7 categories, so I rate things against world building, characters, plot, pace, writing style, themes and ideas, and enjoyment. And I just rate them out of 5 because then, I don't know, it's easier for me than rating things out of 10. Although I'll do half ratings as well, and very occasionally 0.75s, but even in each of those categories, sometimes a 3 is good, sometimes a 3 is bad. I'm so inconsistent, and so then even when you wrap those up, it doesn't always come out with a consistent result. And I can see even books that I've read right next to each other might come out as the same number, even though I know that those books don't deserve the same number, So while ranking things across 7 categories and then averaging it out feels very complex, and so then you think because it's a complex system, it must be encapsulating the complexity of rating books. At the end of the day, I still don't think I'm happy with the ratings that it's giving me. Now, if that system works for you, of course, that's fine, but it's not working for me. So this year, I started experimenting with something new. And this is based on the idea of relative estimation. So at my work, we often don't get people to estimate how long something's going to take on them, in absolute time, so this many hours or this many days, because generally people are pretty terrible at that. But what people are better at is saying this thing will take longer than this thing. And something we'll also sometimes do is create what we call a yardstick, where there's groupings of things that take different lengths of time. And then when you have a new task, you say, well, what kind of task is it most similar to? And that'll give you an idea how long it will take based on how long those other things took in the past. Now, this has its flaws as well, because estimation is frankly quite fraught with issues because you can't predict the future. And it's the same with book rating. There's always going to be some kind of subjectivity. It's always going to be somewhat based on your mood on the day. But I still feel like grouping books together. So when you've got a new book, you say, well, how good was this book? Well, it was a similar goodness to these books here. I feel like that's going to give you a more accurate rating than just trying to rate it against an abstract number. So that's my plan. And what I have done and what I will show you. So this is the Miro board that I have made for ranking my books. This is all the books that I've read in 2023. And basically each line is a different rating, gone on half ratings. And what I'm doing when it comes to copying these into Goodreads is 5s and 4.5s are getting 5 stars, and then 4s and 3.5s are getting 4 stars, and so on. And then I've tried to give some guidance on the side about what the quality is of each grouping, but more important to me than whether it meets the description is whether the group of books on a single line are of about the same quality. So if we zoom right in, you can see I don't yet have an all-time favorite from this year yet, but I have had 4 books that I have really loved. Another one, I don't really like the description of this. I kind of just want it to say great. Great, but didn't quite have that spark that meant I loved it. And then I have a few which were almost great. These are books where there's a lot of things to love about them, but also some flaws that I think stopped them from being great in my opinion. Then the next is where every book ends up, really, if I don't have strong opinions about it. Ones that are okay, but either they were boring or there were minor problems with them. Books that I think were good books, but eh, you know. Then I've kind of got a few books where I think they were decent books, but there were just things that I personally didn't like about them. So like, not for me, but maybe someone else would really like them. Then I don't have any examples of a 2-star, but I've kind of written like something that has a lot of problems, but was still readable. I don't know. And then books that I hated, and lastly, books with no redeeming qualities, in my opinion. I feel like the books down in these bottom ones are very subjective, and I don't know how I decide exactly which category books go in when we're down here. But again, I guess it's comparing them. Like I know Into the Wind-Wracked Wilds, I think I've been saying that wrong the whole time I've been talking about that book. Into the Wind-Wracked Wilds, I really didn't like it, but you know what I liked even less? The Path of Daggers. For a long time, I had Sign Here actually higher, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, no, it's definitely not better than some of these other books on this row. So I'm kind of hoping that as I build this picture up, the groupings will become more and more obvious. But also, I'm really impatient. So what I thought we would try and do is I do have all 150 books that I read in 2022. That's not quite true. For some reason, there's 148 books here because there was a duplicate and a missing one, but I know I read 150 books, but I'm missing some and it's too hard to figure out which ones. What I thought we would try and do is put all of these books onto the scale that I've made up and see whether that gives us a good yardstick for rating future books. I don't know if I'm going to show you the whole thing. I'm going to film the whole thing, but it might be boring. So good luck to editing me to edit this in an interesting way. As well, after I put all these books onto this rating system, I'll do some analysis of these ratings versus the ratings in my spreadsheet, and we will compare them and see whether that gives us any insights. If you want to skip to that part, rather than watching me put all last year's books into the system, then the timestamps are down below, so you can do that. Let's have a look. I've kind of mixed these up into a random order, but Skullduggery Pleasant. I'm not going to be rating series where I can't remember which book was what very differently, but like Skullduggery Pleasant, I feel like is one that's like a lot of people really love it, and I kind of liked some of them, but in general, I just think it's not for me. Oops, my memory card filled up before I even got started. Anyway, Skullduggery Pleasant, I'm just going to put that down there as like not really for me, even though I don't really remember. So that is a problem with this kind of thing, is that your yardstick isn't that useful if you don't remember the things on the yardstick anymore. Strange Planet, I really liked it. I had a good time. I don't know that I'd say I loved it. It was a good time. Quazzle, do you know, it goes in one of these. It was almost great, except that it was hard to read. Like, what is the difference between these two? Oh no, I'll just put it here for now and we'll see what else we end up with. Babysitter's Club books are always going to be like a good time for me just because I love that series. Another Skullduggery Pleasant book. All the Crooked Saints, this is an all-time favorite. It was a reread. Defect is probably a solid 3. Then we've got Stone Blind, which I would put in maybe for someone else because it was kind of boring, but I could see someone else liking it. I'm going to leave some space for some more Skullduggery Pleasant there. Wildfire, I think I would put it in almost great. And see, now I'm questioning because Quazzle was not as good as Wildfire. So maybe I should put this in Had a Good Time. Probably. Deadbeat. You know, I really like some Dresden File ones and I don't remember which ones. Did I like Deadbeat? Can I be bothered looking up which one it was? Deadbeat. Oh, number 7. Isn't number 7 my favourite Dresden File book? Oh yeah, Deadbeat's the best one. Okay. Had a Good Time. I think I'll put this one in. I mean, it could also go in one of these. We'll put it there. Call Down the Hawk. I really love this. Problem is, sometimes I love things, but I will admit they have problems. So then, like, they could either be a 3 or a 4.5 or somewhere in between. But I think Call Down the Hawk, I'd probably say is better than these. Not as good as this. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. You know, I think I might have liked that okay if it wasn't for the fact that I don't think it captured the feeling or like the best parts of the original Frankenstein. Probably good for somebody else. After Dark by Haruki Murakami. This is one where I really like some parts and other parts were very annoying. Changes was a piece of shit. Maybe I should just rate one of these categories piece of shit. Did Changes have any redeeming qualities? You know, probably not. It's probably very similar to Path of Daggers. Confessions. I really liked Confessions, but I think I would... it's a little bit hard. I would have said almost great. However, I think it's better than these ones. I just don't feel I can put it in Had a Good Time because I think it was a little bit difficult to read. I'll put it down here for now and then we'll work that out. A Psalm for the Wild Bill is one of my favourites. That was also a reread. Good Girl, Bad Blood. I had a good time. The Atlas 6. You know, I would say almost great. Interesting. I don't know about the comparisons. We might have to consider changing some of these groupings, which was the whole point of doing this, so that's fine. The Song of Achilles, goodness, you know, a lot of people love it, but I think, I hated it. So that's a shame. Ghost Story, yeah, that was also, I hated it. Did I hate it as much as Changes? I think not quite, but I still hated it. Redemptor, I really liked Redemptor. Would I say I loved it though? Or would I just say had a good time? Maybe had a good time. Then Middle Game, I love Middle Game. I had to think about that for a second because so many things I've read by Seanan McGuire after that have been a disappointment. Children of June. I don't remember which one this is. But, see, this is the problem with this category. Many problems, but readable. I don't think June was readable, and I think it had many problems, but I didn't hate it. I mean, I guess other people really like it. I can't remember which one this was exactly either. Anyway, whatever, we'll put it there and we'll see. Sapphire Flames would be probably in Loved It. Mr. Impossible would be in Loved It, although also it could go in Almost Great. Like, the problem is these ones here in Loved It are like almost all-time faves, so it's easy to get Almost Great and almost all-time faves mixed up. White Hot, had a good time. The Atlas Paradox, isn't this? Oh, the Atlas Paradox is the sequel. I mean, it's probably the same as the first book. Junji Ito's Cat Story, I kind of really loved parts of it, and then it went on a bit. But surely it's as good as these ones. Maybe these ones really do belong down here. Ready Player 2. You know, like, in some ways it was okay. Maybe we found one to be in this category. Because that's the category that's empty over there. Okay, Diamond Fire. Had a good time. I don't know if I'd say loved it. It was a short novella. These short stories, I just feel like short stories aren't really for me, especially these kind of short stories. I can see how other people would love it. This I had a really good time with. Just a really creepy little kid story. Everyone needs a creepy kid story in their life. The Haunting of Hill House. It was okay, but I had some problems with it, but I think it was okay. Could almost go down here because I know some people love it, but like I didn't mind it. Babysitters Club ones always go in, had a good time, just purely for nostalgia purposes. The Extraordinary. This is B. Schwab's Vicious graphic novel. I think it was okay, but had some problems. As Good as Dead. This is the last Good Girl's Guide to Murder book, and I kind of hated it. But, like, would I say that it's worse than Ready Player 2? No. These two, I would say, are. So maybe this actually goes up here in like many problems. But it was readable. Both of these were readable. Okay, maybe. Turncoat. I think this is the last Dresden one that I kind of liked. But I don't think I'd say almost great. Maybe I'd just say okay, but some problems. One of Us is Lying. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed that. Favored star. Part of me wants to say almost great, but actually I feel like for me, maybe it was just okay. Oh, there were some really great scenes though. You know, I probably would put it more similar with these books than with these ones. But yeah, then we got Whetū Toa and the Magician. I really had a good time with this. Would I almost say I loved it? It feels weird to put this kid's book up there. It feels out of place with those ones. I really had a good time with it though. I think it belongs down here. But I kind of feel like it's better than these Babysitters Club ones. But they're just getting a pass because of nostalgia. That's okay. Ariel is a poetry book. I think it actually belongs in all-time faves because I've loved it since high school. Fires of Heaven. Wheel of Time. What happens in Fires of Heaven? I think it wasn't as bad as some other ones, but there were a lot of problems with it. Half Bad I really love. It's so well written. Half Past Peculiar. I picked up this one randomly and I had a terrible time with it. I'm tempted to put it in No Redeeming Qualities, actually. Sorry. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I think I had a good time. Child of Flame. I think this series probably goes with this almost great. Like, there's some really amazing ideas, but I just struggle with it for some reason that I can't put my fingers on. Something to do with the writing style, which is probably similar to Fevered Star and Atlas Paradox and Confessions. Skullduggery Pleasant. I actually feel like some of these Skullduggery Pleasants belong higher and some belong lower, but we'll just average them out there. Proven Guilty. Wait, which one was this? I don't know why I'm making the effort for Dresden to get him in the right place when I'm not for other series. I think because I liked some Dresdens. I know I like some. Oh yeah, I think I didn't mind this one. I think, like, where did I put Deadbeat there? I think this one was okay. Probably like Turncoat level. It was okay. Ear to Seven Waters, same thing. I think it was okay, but just a little bit slow and not going anywhere. Liminal Zone, I really loved it. I love Junji Ito when he's nice and dark and creepy and not just being silly with cats. House Across the Lake. I'm just trying to remember. I feel like it was almost great. If I compare it to the other thrillers I read this year, yeah, I think that's where it goes. These Skyward novellas by Brandon Sanderson, I probably will put them together in, like, okay, they were fine kind of area. And then I woke up, I think I'm not sure. Is it an all-time favorite? I think I just loved it, but, like, I loved it a lot. And Way of the Argosy. So this is a series, and I don't remember which one I liked more. I know I liked one better than the other, but I never remember was it better and then worse or worse and then better. I don't remember. Anyway, we'll put them both as loved it. Is that reasonable? I think it might just be had a good time. I'm surprised how many we're getting into this had a good time section. I must have done good last year. Or is it that I've just forgotten all the things that slightly annoyed me? Whereas with more recent ratings, I remember all those things. Anyway, Hail Mary. I had a good time with Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary. Skullduggery Pleasant. We're just checking it down here. So we don't care. Blood Rights. Which one was that? I've still got this over here. Blood Rights was book number 6. Oh, book number 6. I thought it was going in a good direction at that point. And then, no. Blood Rights. I might even let it go up to... Let's put it with these other ones. Mucha Whenua. I think it was almost great. Had a few problems with it. The Babysitters Club, good time. We're just going to put all of the Realm of the Elderlings in all-time faves because that's where it should be. The Broken Eye. This is so hard because in a lot of ways I really loved this whole Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks, but man, it had some problems. So, like, I could kind of put it in loved it because I loved it, but, like, I'm going to put it in loved it. I think if it's I loved it, but it's problematic, that's fine. I can still rate it as loved it. I just have to remember that it was problematic. And when I say Red, so this is one where it's a kid's book, and I kind of had a good time, but I was a bit worried about the messaging in it. So maybe other people don't mind raising their children that way. I don't have children. I don't bother with that. Upgrade. Oh yeah, I hated this. Would I say it had no redeeming qualities? Probably not quite. But I think it probably belongs down there. Black Prism. I loved it. You know, if it wasn't for the problematic bits, it could almost be an all-time fave. Lord of Chaos. Come down here, my friend. Oh, Wheel of Time. What are you doing? Wasting my time. Crescent City. You know, I really love Crescent City. I was so surprised and I'm still so disappointed. Black Sun, again, where do I put Fevered Star? Do I think Black Sun should be higher than Fevered Star? No, I think if Tress is over here, do we have to try and think about whether any of these ones are actually better than Tress? Let's not get into that argument. Small Favor. It probably goes with these Dresden ones down here. Like, part of the series where I was like, oh, maybe it's not so bad. And then it was. Watch Hollow, but this is Watch Hollow, The Alchemist's Shadow, which was so boring. I think I'd have to put it down here. In Every Generation, this one is hard because I don't really remember it. And I feel like, but it's better than any of these ones. It probably belongs here. Yeah, I think it belongs there. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. I had a good time with this. Dewdrop is an all-time fave. I loved it. The cutest ever. Does it really belong with some of these other ones up here, which felt really deep and meaningful, whereas this one was deep and meaningful, but in a very, like, less deep way? It's so cute though. We'll put it there. The Pallbearers Club. Wow. It was the worst. Were there any redeeming qualities? I don't think so. The Dragon Reborn. Is this only the second Wheel of Time book? You know, the second Wheel of Time book wasn't so bad. It was fine. And then it went downhill. Fool's Assassin goes up here. First 15 Lives of Harry August. I feel like... No, I think it goes there. Sunreach will go with Wherever Redawn Went. I'm trying to remember now. Did I ever read that third novella? Anyway. Cytonic. Well, what a... Cytonic. I actively hated it. As much as Upgrade? Maybe more. Were there redeeming qualities? Yes, but it goes down there. When We Were Magic. I really enjoyed this until we killed someone and didn't care about it, even though the book seemed to be about teens learning life lessons. Almost great. Almost great. Could have been great. He started it. I kind of don't remember. I want to say it was as good as The House Across the Lake. I don't know. So happy for you. I really disliked this. But was it readable? Like, it's probably... Oh, maybe it's up here. One of us is next. I had a good time. We're running out of room for ones we had a good time with. Urahanui, Revenge of the Fae. These were, like, okay. They were just very short. They needed more to them. The last book in The Girl from the Other Side, I was quite disappointed in it. I just think it had a lot of problems. I wouldn't say I hated it. Very disappointing ending. Emerald Blaze would be in Loved It. The Wife Between Us. Oh, I hated this. Did it have any redeeming qualities? Maybe. But I hated it. Another Skullduggery Pleasant one. This is one of the earlier ones though, right? Like, I actually think the earlier Skullduggery Pleasant ones might belong up here. The Blinding Knife probably goes with the rest of the series. Psychology of Time Travel. I think I really loved it. Or was it? Almost great. No, it was better than that. Yeah, it was there. Son of Shadows. This is the second Seven Waters one, right? So I think I had a good time. The Shadow Rising. Which one is this in the series? Number 4. Okay. This is before it started getting shit. I think number 5 is when it goes downhill. Like, this one is okay. Babysitter's Club, Little Sister Cat Club. I think, like, they're almost great. They're just so simple, but, like, I'm not the target market, but I do enjoy them. Maybe it actually deserves. Hang on, we gotta make some more room up here. The Betrayals is an all-time fave. I fucking loved it. Here and Then and Now. I think other people could really love it, but it wasn't quite for me. Okay, the lighting probably just changed because my camera got to the maximum recording time and the sun moves, you know? Anyway, Grey Warren, I really loved it. However, there were some things that it's like, I think I'm going to put it in, I had a good time, because I did. Oh, did I love it? I kind of just want to put that series as I loved it. And I'm sure I didn't rate it 5 stars. Because does it deserve 5 stars? Does Mr. Impossible deserve 5 stars? I'm not going to look because I'm going to look at that later. Monstrous, I don't remember which one this is, but I think on principles I'm going to put it in almost great because I really love that series, but I just think it could be better. Meiriki will go down with Arahanui, although I did think it was better, but maybe not better enough to get into the next category. This is a bit of a mess. Where the Drowned Girls Go. I think it was just okay. God Emperor of June. There's things about that just always stick in my head. However, I think it goes with the other one. Some ideas in there that just stick in my head that I really loved, but some other things that are like, what? The Burning White, we'll just put here. Percy Jackson and the Greek Gods. Like, I had a good time with it, actually. I feel like I'm giving some books this had a good time that don't deserve to be there. Anyway, another Skullduggery Pleasant. 1Q84. I really didn't like it. Did I dislike it this much? I must have, because I DNF'd it. Before Your Memory Fades. I mean, I didn't dislike it that much. It probably belongs on this. Maybe even this row. Along the Saltwise Sea. I hated it. Did it have any redeeming qualities? It did not. Child of the Prophecy. I think this is the 3rd book in the Seven Waters series, which was actually my least favourite. Probably goes down here. Silence of the Girls. Probably goes with this other Greek mythology one that I didn't particularly enjoy. Gallant. I feel like Gallant is like an example of almost great. Like, so much potential and it was good, but like, was it as good as it could have been? No. Does this June Messiah just go with the other Junes? Probably. Seasonal Fairs. Yuck. No redeeming qualities. And given the fact that the first book Middle Game is right up the top, terrible. Another Had a Good Time. This is the original Watch Hollow, which I actually quite liked. I wouldn't say I loved it though. Was it better than these ones? Not really. Was it better than these ones? Yes. Oh no, maybe I need an in-between category. Maybe I just put it with these ones. Language of Thorns, like it was fine. If you like short stories in a world that I'm not particularly attached to, I could easily put this down here, but I think they were better than that. I didn't mind it. Rule of Wolves is probably an exact example of just not being for me. The Excalibur Curse. Probably almost great. Tama Nui is hard because it's kind of more educational than anything else, even though I was hoping it would be like a lovely emotional story about a bird, but I guess it was okay. Maybe it belongs down here. Eat the Rich would be almost great. I had a good time with it though. I think it could have been amazing. Maybe had a good time shouldn't be above almost great. Did I say that I was going to change this to just be great? I did. I don't even listen to myself. Another Babysitter's Club Little Sister. This is the one that I always remember from reading as a kid. Well, I read the original, not the graphic. But I enjoyed reading the graphic because of that. Hide. Ooh. I think it probably gets... I didn't mind it. Was it okay? I feel like there were some objective problems with the writing. It was probably as good as some of these other ones up here, though. But it was the ending that really let this down for me. Could go either way here, but I think because of the ending, we'll put it down here. Another Skullduggery Pleasant. A Pern book. Which one is this? Dragon's Fire. I think Pern books really go down here for me. Relentless Moon probably goes up here. Maybe I need to break up this group somehow. Ruby Fever is... I loved it. Does Ruby Fever deserve to be an all-time favorite? I think it doesn't quite have whatever it is that these 5 stars have. Ascender would be almost great. I'm just putting this whole series together, even though I know I like some of the books better than others, but I can't remember. Then we've got an all-time favorite, another all-time favorite, a Skullduggery Pleasant, but again, one of the earlier ones, which I think I was putting up here. Another Fetutoa book. I'm trying to remember what happened in the first book and the second book. Did I like the second book better? I think I did, because it had, like, some cool, like, dimension hopping. Yeah, I think I'd say I loved it. Did I? Does it belong up here with these ones? Probably not. That's a bit optimistic. Half Wild, so not as good as Half Bad, but still very good. I'm just starting to put things on top of each other because I'm running out of room. Succulents and Spells. I think it was almost great. The World We Make. Oops. This is a little bit disappointing. Oh no. Like, as disappointing as these ones? Or just as disappointing as these ones? I mean, it was better than Skullduggery Pleasant. Maybe it actually belongs up here. Was it as good as Hide? Yes. Was it? No, I think it actually belongs down here. For me. Burn for Me. I think I put this with the rest of this series that I haven't put together, but we'll pretend like I have. No room at the end of there? There's not. We're just going to put them in here. And we can group some of these. Half Lost. I think this would go with Half Wild wherever I put it. Down here, didn't I? Then Princess Ever After. Would I just say loved it, or would I say great? I think it's probably not quite belonging on this row. It's on this row, which we've run out of room on. I'll fix this later. And then lastly, this monstrous one will go with the other monstrous one. Where did I put it? Here. Okay, so this is a mess, but this, I guess, is what I'm thinking about as my ranking. What I'm going to go and do is tidy this up because I know it's a mess. And then I'm also going to do some analysis comparing the ratings I would give books based on this to my ratings in my spreadsheet from last year. And then I will come back to you probably tomorrow because this has taken ages and also my brain doesn't work anymore after making this many decisions. So I'll do some analysis and then we can look at whether there's any outliers or anything obvious that seems like it needs to move around or are the groupings wrong. I did feel like as we went further along it was easier and easier to put books into these categories. The only hard bit was me remembering the books because I read some of these a really long time ago. So I feel like this could be a yardstick that would make me feel a lot more confident in the consistency of my ratings. But let's do some analysis and then we'll talk more about it tomorrow. It'll be the same day for you. Unless you want to take a break. That's also fine. Come back later. Okay, so I'm back and I made a few changes to the one I showed you last time, but pretty much it's the same, not too many differences. I mainly went back and looked at some of the outliers and that led to me moving around a couple of books, mostly ones in series, but there are still a few where the place I have them is very different from the original rating, but I think my new rating is more accurate to how I felt about the book. So I also did some analysis, and I have made a beautiful scatter graph showing kind of the original rating on the horizontal axis and then the new rating on the vertical. So each row of those dots is basically each row on my yardstick, and then the spread is the original ratings that I used to get using my like more complex system. So you can see like the overall trend is that I'm still rating books more highly in the new system if they were rated highly in the old system. There's a few outliers. One example is Just Like Home. I've actually given that 3.5 in the new system, but in the old system it was closer to like 2.3, which is quite a big difference. But I do remember being quite conflicted about my rating about that book. So hopefully this new system will mean I won't feel like that as much in the future. I think you can also see at the bottom, like some of my lowest rated in the old system aren't actually the lowest category in my new system. And again, I looked at my new system and I think I've done it better. Like my lowest rated one in the old system was 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami, which granted I did hate. But I do think it had more redeeming qualities than some of the other books that I ended up rating higher. So again, happier with the new system. And kind of the same thing at the top, like you can see there are some books that have my highest ratings with the old system and I haven't put them as all-time faves. And I think like that's because those books might objectively be better books than some of the ones that are my all-time faves. But the thing that pushes books into all-time faves is not about like whether the book's objectively better. It's about whether they made me have that long-term connection to them. And like these are books that I still love, like Ruby Fever and Call Down the Hawk. Honestly, love them. Really amazing books. But like there's a few things that just hold them back from being all-time faves. So yeah, overall, I'm much happier with my new yardstick. I think it makes me much more confident about my ratings. And then I'm going to be being more consistent regardless of mood. There's definitely some where I can see I rated them very highly in the old system, and I think that was like the glow of reading a good book after having read a really bad book, or just because a certain book was much better than I expected it to be. But like when I line them up against other books, I can see, well, no, they don't really deserve the high rating that I gave them. I will admit, I do think there's some situations where memory is playing a factor and I've just forgotten the details of the book. So I think it'll be better as I continue to use the system and I'm always rating books as I go. I do kind of want to go back though and rate all my books that I've ever read, or at least all the ones I have on Goodreads, which is back to like 2013, I think. Ooh, a decade worth of books. I kind of want to go back and rate them all on this new system just to like have that information. Oh, actually, I also did some more analysis. So I've made some bar charts of the distribution of the different ratings. So you can see with my old system, this was the distribution, and I was kind of unhappy with the amount of 4 stars I was giving out because I definitely didn't think all the books I was giving 4 stars were around the same quality. And then I also still felt like I wasn't giving out enough 5 stars and that I was giving out a few too many like 2 stars. So you can see with my new distribution that is fixed. Like 5 stars are still rare, but I'm giving out more of them. 4 stars have come down a little bit, but 3 stars have come up. I'm also giving out less 1 or 2 stars. Like just overall, I like this distribution better than the previous one. And when I do like a more detailed graph of the new system in each of the 0.5 star ratings, I quite like this distribution too. It's sort of a normal distribution, which makes me feel like I'm rating things somewhat fairly, but it's like skewed a little bit towards the positive, which makes me feel like I'm picking books better, although I'm maybe still giving out a few too many 4 stars. So we'll keep looking at our 4-star line, but maybe it's just easier to find books that kind of you know are going to be good, but you don't know if you're going to love them kind of books, and then that's why a lot of books end up falling in that category. I do also want to acknowledge that Goodreads does have a section on their stats page which looks very similar to this. So if you wanted to kind of do something like this very easily, you could use that and just look at like where does the book you've read fit. The thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have half stars. And also, there's something about having it on a Miro board, that just being able to move it to a place and see, does that feel right? Rather than just doing the comparison in your head. Something about moving it around makes it easier. I don't know what that is. Brains are weird. But anyway, that is a very detailed look into how I'm rating my books now. I don't know how interesting or how useful that would be, but if you have made it here, you're probably quite interested in how you rate your books and trying to make it more consistent, more truthful. So I would love to talk with you all about rating books down in the comments. What works for you, what doesn't work for you. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.